Hello, my name is Kurt Fries. I'm the library director at Carnegie Free Library of Beaver Falls. A word about me. I was born on the outskirts of Kansas City in Lawrence, Kansas, a significant town founded by anti-slavery abolitionists. Pro-slavery forces kept burning Lawrence down, and Free State Jayhawks kept rebuilding. To this day, the Lawrence, Kansas logo for the city features a phoenix rising from the ashes. My family eventually moved east to Pennsylvania for work, yet as I've been told many, many times, we're not in Kansas anymore. Yet, the story of Lawrence, Kansas is very similar to the story of Beaver Falls and Beaver County. Here in western Pennsylvania, we've had our ups and we've had our downs. We've witnessed the decline of the steel industry. These days, things are in the upswing because I see the same mentality I saw in Lawrence, Kansas. We have Beaver Falls Corps and CDC, Community Development Corporation, Beehive, a business incubator, all dedicated to making Beaver Falls a destination to call home. I also see it in our small businesses from Orem's Donuts to Beaver Bagel Company. And I want to thank Orem's and Beaver Bagels for the excellent eats. You know, I thought I'd miss Long Island bagels when I left New York, and I really don't. In Beaver County, regardless of what you do for a living, people are passionate here, and it shows in their work. Lately, I've been talking to a lot of roofers. Our building badly needs a new roof, and I've met roofers too who have their heart in their work, very passionate folks. Of course, if a roof caves in, we're out of business. So we could use a little help to raise our roof. At Carnegie Free Library of Beaver Falls, we've been around for 120 years. And we intend to be around for 120 more. Andrew Carnegie gave this library, to our community. We are one of the first 20 Carnegie Free Libraries. I'm a librarian, and here we are in one of the top 20 Carnegie libraries. Ideally, I want to repair the world, yet as a pragmatist and a librarian, I'm happy to focus on repairing this beautiful old building. We are here to talk today about broadband access in Beaver County. Libraries are on the front lines. We offer computers and Wi-Fi hotspots. Where else can you get computer and internet access for no cost? Our library will hand you literally hundreds of dollars in computer equipment with your library card to take home with you. No deposit or money down. You can search for employment online, fill out government paperwork, or start a business. GoNetspeed has their servers in our library with fiber optic lines reaching from Beaver Falls to Ambridge and throughout our county. And Beaver County is also on the front lines of broadband access across the Commonwealth. Of course, this all costs money, yet the economic ripple effect of it all far outweighs the costs. Think about someone who can't afford internet access or a computer, yet applies for a position online and gets that job offer. These days, libraries are so much more than books. We are a business and economic driver. Finally, we are grateful to have Governor Josh Shapiro, Representative Chris DeLuzio, State Senator Elder Vogel, Representative Jim Marshall, County Commissioner Dan Camp, Mayor Kenya Johns, City Manager Charles Jones, along with library board and staff, as well as members of the media in attendance. I want to thank Patrick Joyle from the Governor's Office and PA State Trooper Tim Gronsky for their efforts to put this event together. I also wish to thank the Library Board President, Ray Gutowski, our Library Board, as well as our staff. In particular, I want to recognize our library staff in attendance, Tammy, as well as her daughter, Adeline. I also want to recognize the janitorial staff from Evergreen Cleaning and Pittsburgh Commercial Cleaning who do an absolutely fantastic job keeping our library clean. Finally, I would like to introduce Mayor Kenya Johns, a supporter of Carnegie Free Library of Beaver Falls and community advocate. Welcome, Mayor Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, the governor, our representative, our congressman, both of our commissioners, and also our state senator. And thank you to Mrs. Cottom, as well as the gentleman from the federal government as well. And thank you all for being here. And thank you all for deciding to come to Beaver Falls, which is my hometown, one of the best places in the Commonwealth, if I'm a little biased myself. for coming here and showing and demonstrating that all facets and all places within Beaver County and throughout the Commonwealth matter. Spotlighting a city like Beaver Falls shows the intention of the government and their cabinet to show that spaces that have been once forgotten are now revitalized and care and matter. We thank you for showing that and showing that broadband helps to showcase that, right? Because giving access to all, giving opportunities for all is what we should all be focused on, no matter where we are, what we're doing. So we thank you for deciding to spotlight Beaver Falls in that space, to know that when you're in Beaver Falls, we represent all people and all places, and this is a space where everyone has access, everyone has opportunity, and everyone has a voice. So thank you. And at this time, I would like to thank our city manager, our deputy director of community development, our deputy mayor, and all of the representatives of the city of Beaver Falls who've come together to help represent and show that we're united in this front. We're committed to making a better, more prosperous Beaver Falls and Beaver County and a Commonwealth overall. And at this time, I would be humbly and very excited to introduce Ms. Barbara Cardam.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you. I'm Barbara Cottam, Senior Advisor at NTIA in the Department of Commerce, and I'm thrilled to be here. I want to thank the library family for hosting us here today, Governor Shapiro and all our elected officials and friends. This is my first visit to Beaver County.
But not your last.
Beaver Falls. No, not my last, but I have been many times to Pennsylvania and to Pittsburgh. I've experienced the cable car and sporting events, the Jazz Festival, lots in Pittsburgh. In my previous life, I worked with some of the business community and nonprofit community here. And I even had the experience of visiting the emergency room at UPMC for stitches. So I feel like I'm coming home here today. Today we stand marking a once-in-a-lifetime moment, a moment when our generation can stand up and bring opportunity, equity, and access to all. A moment we can bridge the gap and expand infrastructure to every corner of this country. I'm sure most of you saw last week at a ceremony at the White House, President Biden announced how much funding each state would receive from the $42 billion Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program, we call it BEAD, which was part of the bipartisan infrastructure law. Pennsylvania is going to receive more than $1 billion from the BEAD program alone. These BEAD funds are the latest in a series of resources from the Biden administration to bring the internet for all to the people of Beaver Falls and all of Pennsylvania. Let me share some numbers with you. Pennsylvania has already received funding from several other programs for the internet, including $45 million from federal coronavirus relief funding dedicated to high-speed internet deployment, $20 million from our broadband infrastructure program to extend internet access to areas without service, and nearly $8 million from our Connecting Minority Communities program to improve access at minority and tribal serving colleges. In all, that represents nearly $1.8 billion to connect everyone in Pennsylvania. But the Internet for All is not just about infrastructure. Affordability is a key component. There are more than 600,000 Pennsylvania households that are saving money on their monthly internet bill through the Affordable Connectivity Program, or ACP. That's more than $220 million so far for Pennsylvania residents, but we know more households are eligible. So I urge you all to seek out those individuals and have them visit getinternet.gov to sign up for this program. We all know today the internet is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Governor Shapiro understands this and has made providing affordable, reliable, high-speed internet a priority of his administration. Importantly, he understands the jobs coming with the internet build-out and has already begun providing funding for registered apprenticeship programs to train the workforce. Pennsylvania is thinking ahead. So what's next? Pennsylvania now knows how much money, how much funding it will have to connect everyone within its borders, and now the hard work really digs in. Pennsylvania must create a plan for how it will deploy high-speed internet infrastructure to everyone in the Commonwealth. The success of our country's Internet for All program is rooted in strong state plans informed by the input and feedback of the community. The PBDA under Brandon is already gathering feedback. They held 10 listening sessions last December, something most other states did not do, and are in the middle of holding about 22 community conversations this summer. I urge you all to encourage businesses, local governments, nonprofits, individuals, provide feedback and offer suggestions to make your state plan the best it can be. At NTIA, we're eager to approve high-quality proposals and looking for them now. We have a federal program officer in every state to help with this process. There are resources for you. I know there's a great working relationship here in Pennsylvania, but I want you all to get to know Nicole Ugarte, your FPO. Don't be shy about reaching out to her, and she's here with us today. Thanks, Nicole, for all your work. So our digital divide is not a new problem. We have known about it for decades. Millions can't connect just because of where they live or how much it costs. So I'll leave you with what I think access to high-speed, reliable, affordable internet service means. It means economic opportunity for the individual, their family, and our country. It means a sense of peace, knowing that you can visit with a doctor through telehealth visits. It means both the young and the old can do their homework and achieve educational certifications and degrees. And it means families and friends can connect with each other. A number of us have been traveling the country, and we've heard from people, as I'm sure you have, just how life-changing access can be. Together, we can close this digital divide, I'm sure of it. It's now my pleasure to introduce a partner here at the state, Brandon Carson, the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Broadband Authority.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Barbara, and thank you to the governor and our elected officials for coming out today. Appreciate the support for this important work that we're doing. So last week's announcement of the nearly $1.2 billion in federal funding is a historic win for Pennsylvania and helps provide the resources we need to finally make Internet for All a reality. Late last year, we announced the completion of a statewide broadband plan, which provides the framework for investments in broadband across the entire Commonwealth. The plan focuses on challenges and opportunities, including improving access to internet service. Digital equity and affordability are key components alongside device access and digital literacy. While we've completed the initial planning work, there's still a lot of work ahead of us as we collaborate with our partners at the NTIA and our local partners to develop the 5-year action plan, which is required before we can access any of the $1.16 billion announced by President Biden at the White House last week. So what's next on our end? This summer, as Barbara had mentioned, we have more than 20 community conversations and roundtables scheduled across the state. And we want to hear from Pennsylvanians. Community input will help to determine our 5-year implementation strategy and how best to utilize the federal resources available to us. So what about efforts to deploy services now? We've been talking a lot about the planning work And I know folks are looking for details on what happens now in terms of deployments. We recently announced the availability of $200 million for the Broadband Infrastructure Program, which provides grant funding to enable access for those who lack it. Applications for the program are currently being accepted through August 9th, and we plan to make awards to local governments, businesses, and nonprofits working to expand internet sometime early next year. Looking ahead, it's going to take all of us working together to accomplish this monumental task. Having the available funding resources is an important first step, but now we need to implement these programs to ensure all Pennsylvanians have access to affordable, high-speed internet. Under the governor's leadership, the Shapiro administration is ready to do this work and finally connect every Pennsylvanian here in Beaver County and across the Commonwealth to affordable, high-speed internet. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Congressman DeLuzio, representing Beaver Falls in the 17th District.
Right behind you.
Perfect.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Brandon, thank you so much. I'm so proud to represent Western Pennsylvania and, of course, the good people of Beaver Falls and Beaver County. Mayor Johns, thank you for being a fantastic host to you and your team, and, of course, Commissioners Camp and Manning here, my counterparts in Harrisburg, Representative Marshall, Senator Vogel, and, of course, Governor Shapiro, thank you for being here. This is a big deal. $1 billion+ investment to deploy high-speed internet infrastructure is great news for Pennsylvania's families, for our businesses, for our communities. For far too long, many people right here in Beaver County and across my district in the Commonwealth have been disconnected, facing internet and wireless coverage challenges difficult or impossible to overcome without federal investment like this. These are the communities and the people across generations who powered the mills and the factories that built this country, and now too many remain left behind without internet access in the 21st century. We have to make that right. We are making that right. This federal investment aims to do exactly that and can fund programs to bring down the cost and expand who can get online. Connecting our residents provides an economic development boost and improves people's lives. Medical appointments, job applications, small businesses, you name it. These are important, basic facts of life in the 21st century and mean more freedom and opportunity for everyone. These days, broadband is infrastructure, almost as necessary as the roads and the bridges we drive on, and the foundation of so much of our economy. It cannot be a luxury. It's not a luxury. This broadband funding, I think, is yet another way President Biden and those of us in Congress who are committed to rebuilding our economy and our infrastructure are delivering for the American people, getting folks connected to the internet in every community across the country. Beaver County also received $20 million from the President's American Rescue Plan and announced recently that it's leveraged that with a large match and a contract from Verizon to add internet access to more than 1,800 households in the county. That's a big deal. Building out our digital infrastructure, I think, is also an opportunity to grow good union jobs. We have the best highly skilled union workforce in Western Pennsylvania and across this Commonwealth. They're ready to do this work. As we continue to revitalize our country's manufacturing, we've got to build out and strengthen communities just like those here in Beaver County that were hit hard by globalization, by lousy trade deals, and saw too many good jobs shipped overseas. We're fighting to end that, to reverse that, to grow those jobs here at home. With better and cheaper broadband in these communities, I think we can attract new investments, new industries, and help small businesses grow and flourish here in Beaver County. I also want to be clear about something. This federal investment is important. I'm proud to be here announcing and delivering it, but it doesn't go anywhere without strong leadership right here in Pennsylvania. Now, I serve in Congress with folks all over the country. I hear crazy stories about their governors undermining investments in this country, undermining federal investments. I look around and say, I have no idea what you're talking about. We've got Governor Josh Shapiro who's working to get things done for this Commonwealth, for this country. So it's great to be from Pennsylvania. I'm proud to get to introduce a governor who I'm so pleased is here today in Beaver County, from fighting to get traffic moving again on I-95, to being there for those of us who represent Beaver County when we had the derailment across the border, really there for us, fighting for the folks in Darlington and otherwise. So it's my honor to introduce our governor, Josh Shapiro.
Thank you very much. Congressman, thank you so much for the kind words, and thanks for your leadership in Congress. And we welcome you and all of your good friends here in Beaver Falls to ride on I-95 whenever you want. It's open. But I'm grateful for the leadership you've shown, and I'm grateful for the assembly of leaders here in Beaver County and Beaver Falls behind me. I wanted to be here today because Beaver County's got its act together in so many different ways, but in particular around this issue. You know, folks want people in government, regardless of what party they're in, to find ways to work together, to come together and actually solve problems and to get stuff done. That's been the focus of my administration. I believe that's been the focus of our county commissioners. That's been the focus of our legislative delegation. Senator Vogel, Representative Marshall, and Representative Matzey, who couldn't join us here today. And it's federal government, local government, and state government all coming together. We're here activity in this community. And access is not just for Beaver Falls. Served or underserved. Look, when parents have to drive their kids to a library in the next town over just to do their homework, or a local worker can't find a business posting to help them be able to earn more money for their families, or when a doctor's office doesn't have the modern tools they need to be able to communicate with patients or consult with their colleagues, that to me is evidence that we simply have more work to do, and how the lack of broadband access holds us all back. Connecting people to high-speed, affordable internet right now will help grow our economy, and it will help strengthen our community. My administration, as you heard a moment ago from Brandon, is ready to do that work. And thanks to President Biden's incredible leadership and federal partners like Congressman DeLuzio, and I know we have representatives here from Senator Fetterman's office and Senator Casey's office. He has been a leader on this issue for so many years in Washington. Thanks to their hard work, we will be able to make meaningful progress in just the next few years. Just last week, as you heard, President Biden announced that he will be sending $1.16 billion in federal broadband equity and access deployment funds. They call it BEAD. They got an acronym for everything in DC. They're sending that money here to us in Pennsylvania to expand broadband to where we don't have it. That money will start hitting Pennsylvania communities very early next year, and we've got a plan to be able to put those dollars to good use to connect people to high-speed, affordable internet. I want you to know it's not just federal policymakers and the president who have led the way on broadband. Right here in Beaver County, local leaders, your county commissioners and others, together with your outstanding mayor, are doing great work with Verizon, as just one example, to expand access to the internet using previous rounds of federal dollars that have already come in. This latest infusion, the more than $1 billion from the Biden administration, will help us build on that success here in Beaver County and take this work across the finish line. I know it's kind of hard to put in perspective what $1.16 billion actually means to someone in Beaver Falls that doesn't have access to the internet. So let me begin to kind of explain that in real people terms. Beaver County officials expect that with the support of this new round of federal funding, they'll be able to connect all of Beaver County to the internet at high-speed, affordable prices. That's government working together at all levels to make a difference in people's lives. And under the leadership of the Pennsylvania Broadband Development Authority, I assume there's an acronym for that too, Brandon? Yeah. Brandon, who you just heard from, will continue to partner with local organizations, local communities like those here in Beaver County to drive out these resources all across Pennsylvania. You see, the Broadband Development Authority, we're responsible for now coordinating the rollout of all the federal dollars that Pennsylvania will get to expand access to the internet. Understand that government spends a lot of time, and Madam Mayor, you know this, making plans to think about what could be in the future, typically if funding is available. Here, we have the funding, we have the plan, and we have all the people working together to make this a reality. I'll give you an example of how that hard work has already paid off for Beaver County and across this Commonwealth. So after the FCC, that's another one of these federal agencies, put out a map of areas in Pennsylvania that didn't have access to broadband, our Broadband Development Authority took that FCC, that federal map that said who didn't have access to internet, and actually went to work to study that map and determine whether or not it was accurate. And when they reviewed that map, they actually found that there were some areas that were inaccurately reported through no fault of anyone, but they found that there might have been a home or a business where they thought there was internet access, but in reality, after studying it, there was not access to the internet. We then partnered with many of these local officials who are here today, and as a result of that partnership that's already occurred, 409 additional households just here in Beaver County will be added to that list to be connected to the internet, bringing the total unserved households that will be eligible for this federal funding to over 3,000. So as a result of that work, we identified additional homes that were in need, and we're able to increase the amount of federal dollars that are available. Take that out all the way across this Commonwealth, we were able to add nearly 32,000 more households who are now eligible because of the work that was done here in the Commonwealth. So what did we do at the state level? We built on the good work the federal government had done with the expertise of all of our local partners to determine where additional need was, and now we're in a position to meet it. So as a result of all that work, we've got a huge influx of federal money that's on the way. We've got an administration and a team of experts fighting for Pennsylvanians to literally put them on the map. We've got a team of local leaders determined to give their community exactly what they deserve. So what happens next? What are those concrete steps? You heard a bit from our federal partners on what that looks like on their end. Let me talk a little bit about what that looks like here in the Commonwealth. The Broadband Authority is building out, is mostly built out, a plan for the next 5 years to deploy those resources and connect everybody to the internet. That plan will have to be approved by our federal partners. That will be approved over the course of the next few months. Once approved, this money that has already been identified and the households, businesses, schools, et cetera, libraries that have been identified will be in a position to have the money start flowing toward them and connect them to the internet. That means that crews, and you heard the congressman talk about this before, we've got the best union workforce in the nation prepared to be able to do this work. You heard earlier that my team has already begun a workforce development initiative to train more people to do this work. That means that once the plan is approved, because the dollars are there, we can start laying cable. We can start putting up towers, and we can start making Pennsylvania's new broadband infrastructure a reality. This deployment will be done largely by local government and will be done largely by local organizations here on the ground who know these communities best, with the support of our state authority and with the largesse of the federal government. So, what does that mean for you if you're watching here today and you're one of those thousands of people who lack internet access? You're going to start seeing activity in your community, maybe toward the end of this year, early next year, begin to build out the infrastructure. And we will make sure to give updates throughout this process and show you where those resources are going to be deployed. A final note. While I recognize I'm back in southwestern Pennsylvania today, it is important to note that this need for high-speed affordable internet, it's everywhere. It's all across this Commonwealth. And it's also not just lacking in rural communities, it's urban areas as well. The impact of no or slow connections holds us back as a Commonwealth. But now, thanks to the work of this group behind me, we've got the funding, we've got a plan of attack, and we've got the resources and the know-how to be able to build broadband out all across this Commonwealth. Accessible, reliable, affordable broadband is important for every community, every region, every zip code of this Commonwealth. And I'm proud to be a governor who's going to deliver on that commitment to our citizenry. We'll continue to work with all of our local partners here. And in closing, I again just want to say how proud I am of all of the leaders here in Beaver County, from our mayor to our county officials to our state officials to, of course, our United States congressmen. This is a community that gets it. They know how to work together. They've done incredible work to get us to this point. And now we're in a position to finally deploy this promise to the good people of southwestern Pennsylvania and the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Thank you all very much, and with that, the mayor's agreed to answer all of your questions.
Why did you choose to make this announcement in Beaver County? Obviously, there's many counties that are lacking in internet access, so why here?
Because this is a community that has it together. First off, this is a library that has been providing access to internet for families, kids, others, job seekers, others who are in need. So I wanted to be in this library in particular. Well, it's an historic library, it's an important library. I knew Kurt would be here. I heard there were bagels, so I wanted to be here for that reason, but also to highlight the outstanding work that these folks are doing. It should be the norm that government works together at all levels. We saw that on I-95. We're going to see that here as we deploy broadband. And Beaver County is, I think, ahead of where many others are on this. Anything else? Okay. Thank you all so very much. Appreciate you.